You need to be innovative. You need to be able to create something new, right? So the vision,
Yes.
ethos, philosophy, and then you need to have the capital. Our competition pay back 80% of their revenues to the distribution channels.
Yes.
We own our distribution channels.
You also made a public investment in Plasma Chain, right?
We decided to support them financially.
Would you support other chains?
Yes. Every competitor that I'm seeing is making the same mistake.
How do you see the future? Like, what gives Tether the advantage? Does Tether remain the number one? How do you see the future? We're here in Singapore for Token 2049. But just before the event, I caught up with one of the most powerful men in crypto, and maybe even one of the most powerful men in the world. I spent some time with Paolo Ardoino, and I dug deep. I spoke about the technology that they're building. We spoke to Paolo, the person, and we spoke about the future of a Tether stablecoin and how it plans to maintain a stronghold with all the new competitors out there. Guys, this is one of the best interviews I've ever done, and it's one that you really don't want to miss. Enjoy. Paolo, it's so good to be here. It feels like we've been working for like many years to get to the point now where like Tether's at the center of everything, stablecoins at the center of everything. Is that how it feels to you as well?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. And definitely 2025 seems to be the year of stablecoins. After 11 years that Tether created the stablecoin technology, now in the most important country in the world finally issued a law, which we contributed to as Tether and the Genius Act. And I'm very proud and very, very excited.
So, like, not a lot of people go back to the beginning, but I really want to go back to the beginning of the Tether story and actually the Paolo story as well, because I mean, you're now at the helm of Tether, you're running Tether, but maybe give us a little bit of background as to how it started and how you actually got involved personally in Tether.
So actually I started in late 2014, so I'm more than 10 years at Tether, almost from like 1 or 2 months after the idea was born. And my career is one of a software developer. I started coding when I was 8, and I did that for almost all my life. Always passionate about technology, sci-fi. I worked as a researcher at the university for a few years. I've been a hacker, a white hacker. I've been excited about cryptography, distributed applications before it became cool with decentralized blockchains and so on. And so in 2012, I got to know 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. That was one of the original Bitcoin exchanges. In early 2014, I started looking at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 more closely and collaborate with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to help them to scale the centralized exchange part as a software developer. And then in late 2014, I also started contributing to Tether as a software developer. And then my journey started there in 2016. Then I became the CTO of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 when 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was hacked. There was a different CTO and different security architecture. Then when 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was hacked, I was tasked to enter and reshape everything, redo everything from scratch, which I did. And then in 2017, I also became the CTO of Tether. And then recently, so after I think I have a good understanding of this technology, but also of the industry as a whole. And so I started focusing more and more on strategy. And from 2020 onwards, I started following a lot the strategy of Tether and actually driving a lot of the strategy of Tether. So in 2023, I became finally the CEO of Tether. And today I oversee strategy, product, all the ecosystem building, the expansion from the boots on the ground and the digital and physical expansion of USDT and all the new products like the new wallet libraries that we're building, the AI play that is going to be insane and we hopefully will be launching this year, and all the other aspects like tokenization platform and so on.
And what about the exchange? I mean, do you still have a role at the exchange? Do you still spend time at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏?
Yes, I still spend time at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. It's my first Bitcoin related project, and it's very, very solid technology. I mean, of course, I'm proud of it because I brought it, but it's a very solid technology. We have an amazing team now that takes care of developing new features. And although it's not among the top in volume, is probably one among the top in profitability because we can run operations in a very lean way, while competitors have like 10,000 people to run an exchange, so they might not be profitable even now.
Who's the kind of trader on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? It always struck me as the more experienced experienced, more institutional
whales.
It's big whales that come and trade there.
You can understand from the fact that Bitfinex is not a top 2, top 3 exchange in terms of volume, but if you look at the Bitcoin cold wallet, we are top 2, top 3. So it means that we have whales that use Bitfinex as their portfolio management system, their role positions over a very long amount of time. If you see, for example, in this volatility period where Bitcoin went through from 120 to 109 and 108 and so on, even the past downturns of the market, we have these traders that keep a lot of liquidity on Bitfinex so that they can buy large quantities of Bitcoin. It's mostly Bitcoiners, right? So we have.
It's not a shitcoin exchange. It's a real Bitcoin exchange, and they trade volatility in Bitcoin, and they trade it in. I've watched the trades in large blocks.
Yeah, it's 100 Bitcoins at a time. That is very intense at some moments.
So let's go back to Tether. At some point, Tether did this, and you guys started to become one of the most profitable companies in the world, certainly by headcount. You started to become one of the most influential companies in crypto. You started to become one of the world's biggest fixed income securities holder. What was that turning point? Or what is it? Something that you imagined? Is it something that you strategized? Or was it one of those things that one day you were here and the next day you were doing that?
If you were asking me in 2014 what would have been my projection in terms of market cap of Tether in 10 years, I would have said 1 billion. Just because I was thinking very boldly. But of course, that prediction was very wrong. But I think no one could predict one event. So if you look at the chart of growth of USDT, up until 2020, so 6 years after it was born, USDT, the market cap was 5 billion. In 2020, March 2020, there is a peak, and there is basically start to get parabolic. If you see the chart, it's just incredible.
Yes.
What happened in 2020 March?
SVB Bank or not?
No, 2020, the pandemic.
The pandemic.
So here's the thing. What we discovered, and actually we discovered it like in 2024. So in 2024, we discovered why we were so successful in 2020. Okay. So the reason is that during the pandemic, right? So if you think about all the emerging markets in developing countries,
yes,
they are very digital. Like, for example, you have Nigeria, super digital, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey. They're very, very digital. And also they have a higher number of kids. So the youth, the population is younger compared to richer countries. Yes. So from 2017 to 2020, the youth in these countries, in these emerging markets, they learn about crypto. In 2020, the economy, all the economies in the world were affected by the pandemic. Everyone. But the emerging markets ones, much more than the rest.
Yes.
And what happens in these stressful moments is that the parents in these families usually go out in Argentina, they go and buy cash dollars in the streets, in the black market, right? That is very normal for these countries. Same thing happened in Brazil, same thing happened in Turkey. All they wanted was cash dollars from the black market because they didn't want their Turkish lira, they didn't want their Argentinian peso. But the pandemic hit. Can you go in the streets during the pandemic?
Lockdown.
No, you cannot. So the kids were teaching to their parents, I have a better way to hold dollars now. And that is what made USDT what it is today.
And that was the big
if you see
point.
The inflection point is March 2020.
And I think right through the journey, you guys had a lot of regulatory pressure. I mean, whether it was coming from the New York Attorney General or whether it came from there was also a turning point there. Was the turning point the new Trump administration, or was it stuff happening behind the scenes before that?
I think so the Biden administration was really not nice to the entire industry. So you remember Operation Choke Point 2.0 and OCC trying to force banks to debank crypto companies. Yes. Crypto CEOs were debanked themselves. So it was a complete mess in the United States. And it was weird, right? I'm Italian. I was born Italian, and I was born in the 80s. Every single movie that I was watching was about the US dominating every single technology. And it felt weird because for the first time in history, the US was not dominating one of the most important technologies in the world, that is crypto.
Yes.
And so now, of course, the new administration changed that. But actually, after we settled with the New York Attorney General, then things started to become more quieter for us until, well, 2022, of course, there was the panic in the market with Terra Luna. We had attacks from the industry. So actually, from the institutional side point of view, or from the regulatory side, things became much more calmer after 2021. From the competition point of view and from actually the traditional financial point of view, the heat started to grow up. And in 2022, you had Fear 3 and other hedge funds, huge hedge funds. At the moment Terra Luna failed, they started to announce very publicly, writing on the newspapers, we're going to short USDT to the ground, and we're going to make a lot of money out of it. So these guys borrowed $17-18 billion at 12% interest per year from all the guys that then eventually failed in our industry. Yes. You can name FTX and all these guys, to trying to short Tether to the ground. So they were borrowing USDT, paying 12% interest, to basically then selling this USDT short on the market for a discount, to force market makers to buy them from the market and come to us to redeem them, and create basically attempt to run on the bank. Basically what they did is, so they caused in 48 hours, we redeemed $7 billion. That was 10% of our reserves. In 20 days, we redeemed $25 billion that were almost 25, if not more, of our percent of our reserves. There is no bank in the world that ever survived to more than 10% redemptions. And Tether was the first financial institution actually to serve more than 10% redemptions. And they finished the bullets. So we kept redeeming and maintained basically the peg until they finished the bullets. We could have gone to zero because we had all the money. We kept saying, we have all the money, guys. And in the end, they finished the bullets after redeeming 25-30% of our assets. And that was the best, of course, after the fact.
Pressure test.
Yes.
Pressure test.
There is that is a trial by fire. And now, I mean, come on, try again.
How hard was it at the time? Were you guys take me back to that time? Were you guys under pressure to redeem this? Did you ever sit down? Because you knew you had all the cash.
Yes, we knew that we had all the cash, but you have to also make sure that the banks are working perfectly. You have not only the cash, you have to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars. So you have to test the machine and make sure that the machine was perfect. And in fact, was perfect, because we were able, really, there is no one that could pay $7 billion in 48 hours. And was very stressful because, again, there was no prior history of any financial institution doing something like that.
And was that, would you say up until today, that was your biggest test? Do you think that was since your time at the company, was that what your biggest?
It's definitely the biggest stress test of any financial institution in history. There is no one else. Washington Mutual is a bank that failed in 2008 for 10% of redemptions. There is the 10% threshold is due to the fact that banks can lend out up to 90% of their balance sheet. So they only have 10% in liquid assets.
Yes.
And so if you redeem more than 10% from a bank, you are done.
The bank had more chance of survival because you by nature had to have all the assets, because you couldn't lend out the assets.
Yeah. Okay, now we know, but in 2022, everyone was saying, oh, these guys are they're Italians. Of course, we cannot trust them with our money. And in the end, we were the most trustworthy and solid company. And in crypto, think about all the people that failed. FTX was the darling of the world. You have
it was the darling of the world.
Yeah, Genesis, all these Celsius, all these guys, all the 3 arrows, all they went belly up because they were lending among each other with a pinky swear. And actually, we were the guys that were having the treasuries in the balance sheet.
In treasuries.
Yeah.
I think it was also a function of the fact that you were under a lot of scrutiny all the time. And so because you were under scrutiny, you had to make sure that you always had all the assets.
Yeah, so we had the New York Attorney General looking at us. We have everyone looking at us, and we kept saying, but the guys that imagine shorting tens of billions of dollars worth of USDT and then have still to pay 12% per year in interest. I mean, I do. In fact, you have guys like Hindenburg Research and so on that I think they closed shop.
Yeah. I suppose the biggest point of failure then was actually the traditional banking system. The thing that could have taken you down would have been a malfunction in the traditional banking system if they couldn't somehow...
Yeah, slow down and so on. Yeah. But the good thing, having treasuries, so then that goes to the SVP point that we were making. Having treasuries, if the bank fails, you just move, because they are securities, right? You should not have cash deposits in the bank, because the cash deposits will follow the bankruptcy of the bank.
In the bank's
if you have,
sheet,
if you have treasuries, they are nominal, they get moved to another bank. You just move them to another bank.
How do you see Tether today? Is it a technology company or is it an asset management company? You manage like more assets than most companies in the world. But every time I hear you talking, you're always talking about technology. You're always talking about developing technology. So how do you see the business? Are you an asset manager or are you a technology company?
I think Tether, I call it once in a century opportunity because it's both. So if you will, it's Google plus Blackstone. So we have, with our profitability, we are investing in great companies, and we are building different, on different areas, like from... commodities, we are huge holders of gold, for example. I think we are reaching, if not surpassed already, 100 tons of gold. We would make us top 35 country in the world, and with treasuries, we are top 18 country in the world.
So that's asset management.
Yes.
With asset management,
yes,
VC as well, because you make a lot of venture investment.
Yes, exactly.
And you're a tech company.
We invested in 120 companies, and these companies are part of our distribution network, right? So we buy these companies because they are chains of shops, bodegas, and kiosks in Central South America and Africa, in Asia. The strength of USDT and Tether is the fact that compared to our competition pay back 80% of their revenues to the distribution channels.
Yes.
We own our distribution channels. So we don't have, so that is the
cost is not, you don't bear the cost of that.
Exactly. So we invest a limited amount in them, we own them, so we don't have to pay for the distribution. So that was the most intelligent play we could make. And that is the reason of our profitability. Now, on the tech side, we are building technology that is amazing. We are building, and we are going to release this year an open source wallet technology that allows everyone to build a wallet, a white label wallet, that you can put a wallet in a car, in a smart fridge, in an entertainment system, doesn't matter. So it's a technology that can adapt to any embedded device, any smartphone, any laptop, anything, truly. And so we are developing that, and we're putting open source because there is no good wallet technology out there. Everyone has his own wallet, but there is no fundamental backbone for wallets.
So any IoT provider can use your open source wallet to integrate into their system, and automatically that system will now be able to transact on blockchain money with whatever they want.
Supporting like 15 blockchains from the start, USDT 0, and lending protocols, everything. So imagine like, you give some money to, imagine you have a smart fridge. I believe in the future with AI and so on, we're going to have smart cars, smart fridges. And the way I see it is that it's like a car, like a Tesla, will have a wallet. You assign, you pop up a QR code, you assign some money, like 50 USDT there just to go and recharge itself. But while it's not using those USDT, it can just put them in 𝗕𝗏𝗍 or like in a lending program. So
it becomes a bank of the IoT, basically.
Yeah, that's the technology we're building.
So that's when you say you're building technology, that's what you're building.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't actually think about it like that. It actually sounds insanely huge. You also made a public investment in Plasma Chain, right? Which is recently launched.
From the 𝗏𝗏𝗧 side, yes.
So from the 𝗏𝗏𝗧 side. So people could refer to that as the Tether chain. As I understand it, that's one of many chains that Tether supports. Maybe just clarify for us, like the
Yeah, it's not Tether's chain. I think that they are doing a very good job in. And the team is great. There is Plasma, there is Stable, and we are. You know, I never wanted to launch a Tether official chain because we believe that lot of the best work is done by the community, thinking about the specific community use cases. And so, of course, we decided to support them financially and with some advisory and help them to think about the different use cases. But we like to see many attempts to build the greatest technology out there and as an open effort. And so that is basically these blockchains.
Would you support other chains? I mean,
yeah.
Would you invest in other chains from a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 or a...
Yes, in my opinion, so I never wanted to build a blockchain because I think would be detrimental to Tether to compete with our own distribution channels.
Exactly.
And so the reason why we build a wallet is because for us, wallet technology, if there are 1 billion wallets, that is going to be expanding. If everyone now can create their own white label wallet and put their logo on it and so on, they will still use our products underlying, right? So I'm not competing with my distribution channel. With blockchain, yes, basically, then I would, if you build your own blockchain, you give a signal where like, okay, all the other blockchains are second tier blockchains. That is not true. We believe in a broader ecosystem where every blockchain has its own niche or big market and they can create value for their users.
And you will support whatever other blockchains come with novel ideas, distribution.
Yes, I'm very, very, very open. Of course, we take good care of understanding the team, the security, and all these aspects because they're, of course, very, very important.
What about now the environment where everybody's launching stablecoins? I mean, I heard Cloudflare is launching a stablecoin. Up until now, you guys have had a majority. You've been the most powerful with the most distribution. How do you see the future? I mean, everyone's launching a stablecoin, including maybe even the Trump family's got through the World Liberty Fund, they've got their own stablecoins. How do you see the future? Like, what gives Tether the advantage? Does Tether remain the number one? How do you see the future?
I think the bigger realization is that, sure, everyone is launching a stablecoin, but most of is like in year 2000, like everyone launching a website. And not necessarily, people could understand it exactly or make money out of it. The reality is that stable coins are 1% tech and 99% distribution. And every competitor that I'm seeing is making the same mistake. They're all focusing on the reach. So if you are a rich guy, you don't need, you can use stable coins, but you don't need stable coins. I mean, with that, I mean that if, of course, you are a trader, sure, you need stable coins because you enter and exit from the market.
The man in the street's got a good bank. The normal person, rich guy's got a bank account that he can phone and he can move money. Come to Africa, we'll show you what real stablecoin you see.
Yeah, it's exactly. If you think about Nigeria, if you think about Argentina, Vietnam, Bolivia, I mean, our team never went to Bolivia before, I think, June this year. No one in our team ever been to Bolivia. Then our VPO expansion this year in June, I think, went there. Drops out from the plane, goes to, I think, Santa Cruz, enters in a Ramdo shop, and sees all the price tags in USDT.
I saw that, yeah.
We never been there for real. And then it goes on the website of the central bank and sees there are two conversion rates between the Bolivian currency and the US dollar, one in US dollars and one USDT on the website of the central bank. Wow. And so this speaks about the penetration and ubiquity of USDT in all the emerging markets, developing countries, because now we have 500 million users. We are growing by 13 million new wallets per quarter. So we built this distribution from the ground up. When we buy this through our investment arm, we buy these chains of bodegas and kiosks and so on. They are the ones that are selling, for example, phone credit, and they're selling these things, right? So they have a direct interaction with people in the emerging market. So you create that relationship, that trust. And so
on the ground.
Yes.
On the ground.
That is
getting the distribution.
Exactly.
So with all these competitors, like, do you still think that USDT will be the number one stablecoin? And I'll ask that, like, I know in crypto you're the number one stablecoin, but in the world, there are other companies that have much bigger distribution than maybe Tether has. Like, I don't know, the banks, JP Morgan's. I don't know what footprint is, but surely someone has bigger distribution than you guys. Or how do you see that?
Right. So think about it. If in 2014 I would have told you that we would make more profits than Goldman Sachs, would have sounded crazy, right? And so, sure, these guys have...
Not by a multiple.
These guys, sure, JP Morgan, for example, they have great distribution. But the reason why Tether exists is because all these banks failed in servicing customers. So they, I've been, like, mainstream media mocked Tether for a long time because we were servicing a niche. 3 billion people, half of the population of the world, that is the one that is underbanked and unbanked, they call it a niche. So that is the arrogance of who comes, or not everyone, but many that come from the traditional financial world. And still today, the reason why we work as a product is because to open up a bank account, to maintain a bank account, costs $150. They have 70, 80,000 employees, if not 150,000 employees. So that cost will not go away unless they fire everyone.
How many employees does Tether have today?
Now 300, because I hired quite a few engineers to do all the crazy projects that we have.
So there were numbers thrown around of Tether raising at a $500 billion valuation. Like, what's the truth? Are you raising at a $500 billion valuation?
So we are receiving a lot of interest. So Tether is a very unique company, and so received a lot of interest. And we are looking at to add some investors, but very strategical, right? So we don't need the capital, but we need, since we are this particular company that it can be very strong on the tech side and the tech infrastructure side, and also on the financial side, we are expanding AI, we are expanding in communications, we are expanding in many other areas. Then we want to partner with investors that have matching portfolios and expertise with us.
And is the entry ticket 500 billion entry ticket? I mean, are those the numbers that you guys are floating in the market?
No, that is the valuation.
Yeah.
I mean, the ticket cannot be 500.
Yeah. Is the entry ticket at a $500 billion valuation?
That would put us 30x multiples that compared to our direct competitor is even cheap, because otherwise it should be 2 trillion.
So how do you feel as a human? I mean, you're a young guy, you're a smart guy. How do you feel running one of the biggest companies in the world? And like, if we would have spoken 10 years ago, you would have been not running one of the biggest companies in the world. How does it feel on a personal point of view when you go to bed, when you sit with your friends, and you're running one of the biggest companies, the most profitable companies in the world?
And I'm still excited as the first day. I'm still the same person, still driving the same car.
You still have the same humility you had many years ago.
Yeah.
I'll give you that much.
My parents come from, they taught me about being humble and work very hard. Sometimes people, there was an article saying, oh, Paolo is the hardest working person in crypto. You have to see my parents that were farmers, how hard they were working. So I feel like I have an easy life compared to them.
I always see you always working hard. You're always wearing black. You're always wearing sports shoes. You always look like you're busy. And
I have only 2 pairs of shoes. I don't care. Yeah, because I only work. So
I see we're running out of time. Everyone's waving, but I just have to ask you, what worries you? Like, in the old days, you would have said to me, regulation would probably worried you. In the old days, you would have told me an attack from the New York Attorney General would have worried you. Now everything's different. What worries you today? Do you still have those existential threats? Do you have any existential concerns for the company, or is that something that's completely out the window now?
I worry about, and this is not kind of a realistic worry, but it's like if I have to think, I worry about losing this opportunity, right? So you have, in the world, you have every company has, in my opinion, I try to boil down what a company needs to be successful in 3 things. You need to have the vision, for example, the tech vision. You need to be innovative. You need to be able to create something new, right? So the vision.
Yes.
You need to have, in my opinion, ethos, philosophy. So because then otherwise, like,
culture, philosophy.
Yeah. And then you need to have the capital.
You have the capital?
Usually 2, most of the companies have 1 or 2 out of the 3 things.
UFC.
Yes. And it's very unique. Because usually if you have the best ideas in the world, imagine like you want to build a completely decentralized system that gives control to the people and not to you. Then I can do that because 𝗬𝗏 is our peer-to-peer chat app. Is running on the best open source peer-to-peer communication technology, cannot be stopped, cannot be contained, cannot be do anything. And I can build it because I can afford that, and is within my ethos, that is freedom of speech, and ultimately will have a wallet, and so will subsidize my main product. But it will be free of charge. No one can stop it. No one can censor it. And but imagine if I were to go to a VC and say, oh, I have this great technology that cannot be stopped and I cannot control it. And the VC was like, then I can make money. Like, if you cannot control something, how you can make money? How you can explain to a VC?
So what worries you? Because you've got the money, you've got the ethos, you've got everything. What worries you?
To not be able to completely maximize the outcome of this opportunity. And so I think every day about it, and I work very hard every day to make sure that I'm not leaving any rock unturned.
So it's like it's a success worry, not a failure worry. You're worried that you won't be as successful as you can be. You're not worried about any kind of failure.
No.
And if we would have spoken 2 years ago, it would have been a very different discussion.
I think that the turn around of in the US politics gave me hope that there was a positive change. And this industry now, I think, is set to exist for life and forever. And so that was an existential crisis, not only for Tether, but for the entire industry. 𝗪𝗓𝗏 and the SEC, the former SEC, was very nasty. Yeah?
And how close are you to the administration now? Because you're very important to them because you own a lot of treasury bonds. Your failure could mean that there's a lot of treasury bonds on the market. Like, are you in discussion with them? In the old administrations were very close to the banks because the banks were the lifeline of the money. Are you as close to the new administration as the banks were to the previous administration?
I think we are seen as good actors, so it's not necessarily we are very close, right? I think that in general the industry became closer to the administration. For example, I met once the president during the Genius Act celebration, but I didn't have the chance to spend long words with the president. But in general, I think there is a realization that the technology that we created is actually fundamental for the US dollar hegemony. And so we see a lot of support and a continued upcoming support for the stablecoin industry in general.
What a story. What a
ride.
What a ride. And sitting here motivates me because what an opportunity we have. We have money, we have resources, we have opportunity. Just don't mess this up. Just don't blow this opportunity.
Is that the only thing that we worry about is like, I don't want to mess this up. So I want to be very precise and thoughtful.
Okay, well, listen, don't mess this up, please, because we're behind you. Everybody is watching you. It's been amazing.
I'll do my best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great.